نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اقتفى أثره واستنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين. Inshallah, we'll continue with reading with the book known as Tahdheeb At-Tahdheeb by Al-Hafiz Abu Al-Fadl Ahmad ibn Ali ibn Muhammad ibn Ali ibn Mahmud ibn Ahmad Al-Kinani Al-Mashhur bi Ibn Hajar Al-Asqalani, who was born in the year 773 and died in the year 852 after the Hijrah. And we've reached the biography or the tarjama of the individual known as Ahmad ibn Al-Hasan. So we're still in the people who their name is Ahmad, and we've reached the individual who his name is Ahmad ibn Al-Hasan. So Ibn Hajar rahimahullah ta'ala, he says Kha-ta Ahmad ibn Al-Hasan ibn Junaydib, or Ahmad ibn Al-Hasan ibn Junaydib Abu Al-Hasan At-Tirmidhi Al-Hafiz Al-Rahal Sahibu Ahmad ibn Hanbal. So he says Kha-ta. So this person, his hadith can be found in Kha as well as Ta. Kha being Al-Bukhari and Ta being Tirmidhi. What was his name? His name was Ahmad ibn Al-Hasan ibn Junaydib. His kunya was Abu Al-Hasan. And he was an individual from Tirmidhi, right? Tirmidh is a city in Uzbekistan to the northwest of Bukhara, right? It's to the northwest of Bukhara. They say in the footnotes, this is attributing to the city, old city that was on the edge of the Belk River, right? The river of Belk, الذي يقال له جيحون, the river that is also known as the Jihun River. وقد اختلف في ضبطها. And they disagree about the proper way to pronounce this word, Tirmidh, right? So As-Sam'ani, he says, المتداول على لسان أهل تلك البلدة وكنت أقمت بها 12 يوما بفتح التاء وكسر الميم. As-Sam'ani, and remember, this is one of the books that we said it's important for a student to get, right? Al-Ansab by As-Sam'ani and Al-Buldan by Al-Hamawi. As-Sam'ani, he says that the way that is commonly said by the people of this area, right, the people who actually live there, and I stayed with them for 12 days, right? I lived amongst them for 12 days, is that they pronounce it with a ta and a fatha on the ta and a kasra on the meme. So they say Tarmidhi, 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 or Tarmidh, right? Tarmidh. This is how they said it. وَالَّذِي كُنَّا نَعْرِفُهُ قَدِيمًا فِيهِ كَسْرَ التَّاء وَالْمِيم جَمِيعًا. He says, and that which we knew previously, right, the way we all used to say it before. So before I went to go live with these people, and before I stayed there for 12 days and found out how they say it, the way we used to say it was Tirmidh, Tirmidh, with a kasra on the ta as well as the meme. He says, وَالَّذِي يَقُولُهُ الْمُتَوَقُّونَ مِنْ أَهْلِ الْمَعْرِفَةِ بِضَمِّ التَّاءِ وَالْمِيمِ. And those who are from the people of al-mutawaqqun. I don't know that word. How would you translate that? Al-mutawaqqi. Those who try to take caution. Al-mutawaqqi. How would you translate that? What? Mutawaqqi. وقى وقلا وقزا. المتوقي المتوق المتشهى في حديث علي ما لك تتتوق في قريش تتتوق تفعل من توق وهو الشوق. Okay, so maybe he's saying والمتوقون, right? The people who are known for their, like, maybe tasawwuf or their desire or their, like, perhaps, I don't know. He says, and the people وَالَّذِي يَقُولُهُ الْمُتَوَقُّونَ الْمُتَوَّقُونَ وَأَهْلُ الْمَعْرِفَةِ. Yeah, so he must be talking about like the Sufi or something like that. And the people who are known for this longing and this awareness that they have, the Sufiya, right? They say it with a dhamma on the ta and the mim. Turmudh. Turmudh. He says, وَكُلُّ وَاحِدٍ يَقُولُ مَعْنًا لِمَا يَدَّعِي. In each of these different ways of saying it, it has a meaning relevant to the one who is claiming to say it that way, right? So the people who say tarmidh, it has a meaning that is relevant to why they say tarmidh. And the people who say tirmidh, there's a meaning to why they say tirmidh. And the people who say turmudh, there's a meaning to it why they say turmudh. And so this is the statement of as-Sam'ani about the different ways to pronounce it. So that's just beneficial information about people who are ascribed to that location. So this individual, Ahmad ibn Al-Hasan, ibn Junaydib, Abu Al-Hasan, At-Tirmidhi, or At-Tirmidhi, Al-Hafiz, Al-Rahal. He was a major scholar of hadith, right? If you know the levels of the scholars of hadith, they usually say like the lowest level is a musnid, a person who narrates a hadith with its chain, right? That individual is known as a musnid, even if he doesn't have awareness of the science of hadith, riwayatan or dirayatan, but he narrates with a chain. That person, they call him a musnid. The next level is a muhaddith, right? And that's a scholar of hadith, riwayatan wa dirayatan. He understands the sciences of hadith and has experiences in the books of hadith, and what he knows more than he doesn't. You see what I'm saying? He's reached that level of scholarship in hadith. And then above that is the level or the martaba of al-hafiz, a person who is deemed to be a hafiz of hadith. He's reached the level of being one who has memorized hadith. He's not just one who knows the chain, who can say a hadith with a chain. And he's not just one who can tell you a hadith and tell you about a hadith. He's reached the level of being one who is considered those who preserve the hadith. And they say that a hafiz is one who is an individual, for example, it's what he doesn't know about something is less than what he does, right? Or he almost knows everything in a particular topic, right? He doesn't know everything, but he almost knows everything, right? Ma yaghibu anhu qalil. That which he doesn't know is very limited. And the sciences of hadith and then the field of hadith, the study of hadith, to reach that level of hafiz, not only do you know more than you don't, but what you know far outpaces what you don't, right? The things that you don't know are very rare. And then another level that they say some of them reach, what they call Amir al-Mu'mineen fil Hadith, or the Khalifa of Hadith, Amir al-Mu'mineen, where his statement becomes obedience in Hadith. Whatever he says about it, you got to say, because he's the leader. He's the ruler of Hadith. He's the ruler of Hadith. So he's not just the one who preserves it, but he's considered to be a ruler in Hadith. People like Sufyan al-Thawri and Shu'bah and al-Bukhari, right? These are individuals who are known as Amir al-Mu'mineen in Hadith. And so this individual, Ahmad ibn Al-Hasan ibn Junaydib, was considered a hafiz, right? This is the level of scholarship that he reached in Hadith. He was known as al-Hafiz, and he was one who was ar-Rahal. He was one who traveled often and abundant, right? He didn't stay in one location, but he traveled to the different corners of the earth of that time to acquire the knowledge of Hadith. And he was a companion of Ahmad ibn Hanbal, meaning him and Ahmad ibn Hanbal were close companions and classmates. Ibn Hajar, he says, روى عنه خاء وتاء وعن حجاج بن نصير والكعنبي وأبي عاصم وعبد الله بن نافع وطائفة. Here it seems to be that maybe this is a slip from Ibn Hajar. Because he says, and the people that narrated on him were Bukhari and Tirmidhi. But he mentions them before mentioning Ahmad ibn Al-Hasan ibn Junaydib's teachers. So maybe his pen slipped and he said it twice. But he says, from the people that narrated on him were Bukhari and Tirmidhi. And from the people that he narrated on was Hajjaj ibn Nusayr, as well as Al-Ka'nabi, as well as Abi Asim, as well as Abdullah ibn Nafi', as well as a large group besides them. And from the people that narrated on him, from his students, there was Al-Bukhari, with Tirmidhi, and Ibn Khuzaymah, and Abu Hatim, and Abu Zur'a, and Ibn Jarir, and Ja'far ibn Muhammad ibn al-Mustafad, and a large group besides this. So from his students were people like al-Bukhari, Muhammad ibn Ismail, and al-Tirmidhi, Muhammad ibn Isa, and Ibn Khuzaymah, Muhammad ibn Khuzaymah, as well as Abu Hatim and Abu Zur'a al-Raziyan, as well as Ibn Jarir, Muhammad ibn Jarir al-Tabari, as well as Ja'far ibn Muhammad ibn al-Mustafad, and other than them. Right? So this individual, he would have been somebody who allowed the students to catch up to their teachers, because people like Ibn Khuzaymah and Tirmidhi and Ibn Jarir, these are all students of Bukhari. And so by them catching this individual, he's somebody that allowed the student to catch their teacher. So that shows you that he would have had some longevity with him. Ahmad ibn Al-Hasan ibn Junaydib, Abu Al-Hasan al-Tirmidhi, Al-Hafiz, Al-Rahal. Ibn Hajar, he says, قال الحاكم ورد نيسابور سنة 41 و200 فحدث في ميدان الحسين ثم حج وانصرف إلى نيسابور فكتب عنه كافة مشايخنا وسألوه عن علل الحديث والجرح والتعديل. Al-Hakim, he says that this individual, he came to Naysabur in the year 241. Right, so in the year Imam Ahmed died, who was one of his classmates and contemporaries and friends, was the year he made it to Naysabur. So he was out, he was moving about throughout the land. If by 241, he's in Naysabur. He says, so he taught hadith fi Maidan al-Hussein, right, in the area of Hussein, right? There was an area known as Maidan al-Hussein. He taught hadith in that area. Let's see if we can find any information about Maidan al-Hussein, just to know a little bit more about it. Maidan al-Hussein. Imam Hussein Square, but that's in Egypt. So there's another one, Maidan al-Hussein in Egypt, Naysabur. Is there one in Naysabur today? Right, so it's basically Hussein Square in Naysabur, which would have been an important area of that location. So he says he taught in the Husseini Square, and then he made Hajj. And then he returned to Naysabur, when Sarafa ila Naysabur. And so from the people that wrote hadith from him during that time were all of our teachers. This is Al-Hakim and Naysaburi saying all of our teachers are those who reported hadith from this individual, right? Ahmad ibn Al-Hasan. He says, and they asked him about the subtle mistakes in hadith, as well as criticism and praise of individuals. Now, قال ابن خزيمة كان أحد أوعية الحديث. Ibn Khuzaymah, he said that this individual was from the vessels of hadith. He was from the containers of hadith, right? He was somebody who preserved and contained the hadith. So that's that individual. So we know the things that we know about him. He was alive in year 241 in Naysabur, right? We might not know exactly when he died. We know that he was an imam and a hafiz, so he was thiqah, right? So that's what we know about him as far as the basic ingredients regarding his birth, his death, and his grading. We already knew his name, Ahmad ibn Al-Hasan ibn Junaydib Abu Al-Hasan. At-Tirmidhi. Ibn Hajar, he says, قلت وقال أبو حاتم صدوق وذكره ابن حبان في الثقات وقال الذهبي توفي قبل سنة 50 و200 وفي الزهرة روى عنه حديثين. Ibn Hajar, he says that Abu Hatim said about this individual that he was honest and reliable, Saduq. And Ibn Hibban, he mentions him amongst the reliable and righteous people in his book, Al-Thiqat. And Al-Dhahabi said about this person that he passed away sometime before the year 251, right? So he would have passed away shortly before Bukhari did in 258. 256. but he would have still been from Bukhari's teachers, right? So 6 years before Bukhari, and one of his teachers is still passing away. And in that book that we talk about all the time as Zahra, that Ibn Hajar mentions, he says that Bukhari narrated 2 hadith from this person. Bukhari narrates in his book 2 hadith from this person. And that is Ahmad ibn Al-Hasan ibn Junaydib Abu Al-Hasan At-Tirmidhi or At-Tirmidhi. Now, the next person they mention, they say, Mim Ta Ahmad ibn Al-Hasan ibn Khirash Al-Baghdadi Abu Ja'far Al-Khurasani Al-Asl. He says that this person is in Muslim and At-Tirmidhi. And here, you got to pay attention. This is one of the people that can be confusing because he's in Tirmidhi, just like the previous Ahmad ibn Al-Hasan. But the previous Ahmad ibn Al-Hasan is only in Bukhari, while this Ahmad ibn Al-Hasan is only in Muslim besides At-Tirmidhi, right? So both Ahmad ibn Al-Hasans are in Tirmidhi. So there's nobody in Kutub al-Sitta named Ahmad ibn Al-Hasan except these 2 individuals. Both of them are in Tirmidhi, while one of them is only in Bukhari and the other one is only in Muslim. And they're of similar generations. And so this is where it becomes, you have to pay attention to knowing these type of details so you can know who's who. The first one, right, we know he was Tirmidhi. While this one, Ibn Hajar, he says, Mim Ta, this person can be found in Muslim and Tirmidhi. His name is Ahmad ibn Al-Hasan ibn Khirash Al-Baghdadi. That this person was from the inhabitants of Baghdad. And his kunya was Abu Ja'far. The previous individual, his kunya was Abu Hassan. So now we've been able to differentiate between them by their grandparents and by their kunya and by their location. And Ibn Hajar, he says that this individual was Khurasani al-Asl. He was originally from Khurasan. And Khurasan is that area where Tirmidh and all of that is located, right? That northern Afghanistan, northeastern Afghanistan, the Iran and that portion that touches Pakistan as well. Maybe not the north, maybe towards the southeast Afghanistan. Yeah, southeastern Afghanistan. So not Tirmidh. But he was from southeastern Afghanistan, southwestern Afghanistan, southeastern Iran, the northern border of Pakistan. That area is called Khurasan. Naam. And so this is the individual, Ahmad ibn Al-Hasan ibn Khirash al-Baghdadi Abu Ja'far al-Khurasani al-Asl. He was from the inhabitants of Baghdad, but he was originally from Khurasan. They say, Rawa an Shababa wa Abi Amir al-Aqadi wa ibn Mahdi wa Abd al-Samad ibn Abd al-Warith wa Jama'a. From his teachers were Shababa and Abi Amir al-Aqadi, as well as Ibn Mahdi and Abd al-Rahman ibn Mahdi, and Abd al-Samad ibn Abd al-Warith, as well as a lot others. And they say, وَعَنْهُ Muslim, and from his students there was Muslim and Tirmidhi and Ubaydun al-Ijli, right? Or al-Ijl, Ubaydun al-Ijl. And some of them, and some of the other, that's what I thought it was al-Ijli. So in some of the other prints, they say al-Ijli. But Ubaydun al-Ijl or al-Ijli, as well as Abdullah ibn Ahmad was Sarraj, right? A famous scholar of hadith. He has a book, Musnad al-Sarraj. So these were from his students, Abdullah ibn Ahmad and Sarraj and Muslim and Tirmidhi and Ubaydun al-Ijli. These are all famous scholars. They say about him, قال مات سنة 42 و200 and 60 سنة. This individual, he died in the year 242, right? So he died the year after Imam Ahmad, the same year as Abu Mus'ab al-Zuhri, right? The companion of Malik. He died in the year 242, and he was 60 years old when he died. So this is his biography information. As far as his reliability, they say, قال الخطيب كان ثقة. And Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi, he said regarding this individual that he was righteous and reliable. He was thiqah, 2 thumbs up, right? Ibn Hajar, he says, قلت وذكره ابن حبان في الثقات. Ibn Hibban mentions this individual in his book, Al-Thiqat, the righteous and reliable people. And Ibn Hajar, he says, وفي الزهرة روى عنه مسلم 11 حديثا. He says, and in the book of Az-Zahra, it's reported that Muslim narrated 11 hadith from this individual. Muslim narrated 11 hadith from this individual. Now, we'll take 2 more biographies. Actually, 1 more, but then the other 2 are just statements. The last biography, he says, Kha Dal Sin, Ahmad ibn Al-Hafs ibn Abdullah ibn Rashid As-Sulami, Abu Ali ibn Abi Amr An-Naysaburi Qadiha. So this individual, you can find his hadith in Kha Dal Sin, Bukhari, Abu Dawood, and An-Nasa'i. His name is Ahmad ibn Al-Hafs ibn Abdullah ibn Rashid. Ahmad, the son of Hafs, the son of Abdullah, the son of Rashid, As-Sulami. Right? He's attributed to the tribe Bani. Is it Sulaim or Salim? As-Sulami, if I'm not mistaken, is Bani Sulaim. Sulami, if I'm not mistaken, is Bani Sulaim. Yeah, Bani Sulaim, As-Sulami. Naam. He's attributed to the tribe Bani Sulaim. Banu Sulaim is an Arabic tribe from Adnan, right? So they're from Adnan, from the Arab al-Musta'raba. And his kunya was Abu Ali, and he was also known as Ibn Abi Amr. So his name was Ahmad ibn Al-Hafs, but he was also known as Ahmad ibn Abi Amr, right? Ibn Abi Amr, and he was from Naysabur, and he was the judge of that region. He was the judge of Naysabur. And we mentioned Naysabur is that shared area in Khurasan between the eastern and western borders of Iran and the western border of Afghanistan, right? The eastern border of Iran and the western border of Afghanistan, that area had what is known as Naysabur, and he was the judge of that area. From his teachers, they say, Rawa an Abihi, والحسين ibn al-Walid al-Qurashi والجارود ibn Yazid al-Amiri وغيرهم. He narrated on his father, as well as Al-Husayn ibn al-Walid al-Qurashi, as well as Jarud ibn Yazid al-Amiri, and other than them. Those were from his teachers. وعنه, and from his students, there was Al-Bukhari and Abu Dawood and An-Nasa'i, as well as Muslim and other than his Sahih. So Muslim narrated on this person, just not in Sahih Muslim. Likewise, from his students were Abu Hatim al-Razi, Abu Hatim, wa Abu Awana. Abu Awana was a student of Muslim who has the Mustakhraj, Abu Awana. Was Zakaria Sijizi, right? As-Sijizi, also known as Sijistan, right? But Zakaria As-Sijizi and Salihu Jazara and Abu Hamid ibn Al-Sharqi wa Abu Hamid ibn Bilal al-Bazzar, al-Bazzaz, and Abu Bakr ibn Ziyad al-Faqih, and Abu Bakr ibn Abi Dawood, and Ibn Khuzaymah. So these were all from his students, right? So he had a large number of popular and prominent students. An-Nasa'i rahimahullah ta'ala, he said about him, La ba'sa bihi. One of the things that is beneficial is to know that when a person has a lot of students, that in itself almost serves as a praise, especially when those students are prominent and noble. Because the prominent and noble people wouldn't take an abundance from somebody who wasn't qualified. And so when you see a person having a lot of noble and prominent students, then this is a sign of his validity in the science of hadith. It's not necessary, but it is a sign. An-Nasa'i, he said about this person, La ba'sa bihi saduqun qalilul hadith. There's nothing wrong with him. He's honest and reliable, or he's honest, but he was limited in his narration. He did not narrate in abundance. He had very few narrations. They say, قال أبو عامر المستملي مات ليلة الأربعاء لأربع خلون من المحرم سنة 58 و200 وخيل إلي أنهم امتلأ الميدان من الخلق. Abu Amr al-Mustamli, he said that this individual died Laylat al-Arba'a, the night preceding the day of Al-Arba'ah, what they call Wednesday, Al-Arba'ah, the night before Wednesday. And that was 4 days into the month of Muharram. And that was in the year 258, right? So he died the same year, if I'm not mistaken, as Muhammad ibn Yahya al-Dhuhli, 258. He says, وَخُيِّلَ إِلَيَّ أَنَّهُمْ تَلَأَ الْمِيدَانُ مِنَ الْخَلْقِ. And the way I remember it, the way I see it, is that the whole square, right? The whole square, the Maidan, was filled with people, right? To witness his funeral. The whole square was full when he died. Ibn Hajar rahimahullah ta'ala, he says about him, قُلْتُ وَقَالَ الْكَلَابَاذِي فِيهِ السُّلَمِي مَوْلَاهُمْ. He says that Al-Kalabadhi, he said regarding this person, as far as him being Sulami, then it's because he was one of their freed slaves. This person wasn't actually an Arab, but he was one of the freed slaves of somebody from the tribe of Bani Sulaim. So he wasn't actually Sulami, yani Aslan. He was a freed slave of theirs. Ibn Hajar, he says, وَقَالَ مُسَدَّد ibn قُطْن مَا رَأَيْتُ أَحَدًا أَتَمَّ صَلَاةً مِنْ. Musaddad ibn Qutn, he said, I've never seen somebody more precise or perfect with a complete salat than him. I've never seen somebody pray more completely than he had. He says, وَأَمَرَ مُسْلِمٌ بِالْكِتَابَةِ عَنْهُ. And Muslim, rahimahullah, Imam Muslim, he commanded people to write from this individual, to write this individual's narrations down. وَقَالَ النَّسَائِيُّ فِي أَسْمَاءِ شُيُوخِهِ ثِقَةً. An-Nasa'i, he mentioned in his book the names of his teachers that this individual was thiqah. وَكَذَا قَالَ مَسْلَمَةً. And likewise, this was a statement mentioned by Maslama as well. Ibn Hajar, he says, وَزَعَمَ الْجَيَّانِ فِي أَسْمَاءِ شِيُوخِ ibn al-Jarud أَنَّهُ مَاتَ سَنَةَ 55. Al-Jayyani, he mentioned in his book the names of the teachers of Ibn al-Jarud. Ibn al-Jarud has a musnad that's very known. And so this Al-Jayyani, he mentioned regarding the teachers of Ibn al-Jarud, he says that this individual, Ahmad ibn Al-Hafs, he died in the year 255. He died in the year 255. And it's also been said that he died in the year 260. So some people say 258. 255, 260. Ibn Hajar, he says, وَالْأَوَّلُ الْمُعْتَمَدِ. And the first opinion, i.e. 258, is the more reliable one. And in the book Az-Zahra, روى عنه خاء أربعة. In the book Az-Zahra, Bukhari narrated 4 hadith from this person. So that is Ahmad ibn Hafs, ibn Abdullah, ibn Rashid, al-Baghdadi. Ibn Rashid, السلمي السلمي أبو علي النيسابوري ابن Abi Amr. Naam. So that's the only person in Kutub al-Sitta named Ahmad ibn Hafs. Ahmad ibn Hafs ibn Abdullah ibn Rashid السلمي النيسابوري السلمي أبو علي ابن Abi Amr النيسابوري. And he was thiqah or saduq thiqah. In any circumstance, he's the only one. There is another Ahmad ibn Hafs that's not in Kutub al-Sitta. Ibn Hajar, he says, I'm sorry, that is in Kutub al-Sitta, right? That is in Kutub al-Sitta, but there's a discrepancy. So Ibn Hajar, he says, seen. This person, their hadith can be found in the Sunan of Nasa'i, just like the other Ahmad ibn Hafs, right? So Ahmad ibn Hafs, there's 2 of them in Nasa'i. But what's the difference about this one? He says, Ahmad ibn Hafs ibn al-Mughira ibn Abdullah ibn Umar ibn Makhzum al-Makhzumi yukna Aba Amr wa huwa mashhurun bi kunyatihi. So there's another Ahmad ibn Hafs who is known as Abu Amr, not Ibn Abi Amr, Abu Amr, but he's famous by his kunya, Abu Amr ibn Hafs. And so we'll see him being mentioned in that section when we get to the name Abu Amr in the kunyas. But his name was also Ahmad ibn Hafs. So if you're looking in Nasa'i, there are 2 Ahmad ibn Hafs. Ahmad ibn Hafs, who was Abu Ali who is also known as Ibn Abi Amr. And then there's Ahmad ibn Al-Hafs, Ibn Al-Mughira, Ibn Abdullah, Ibn Umar, Ibn Makhzum al-Makhzumi, who was also known as Abu Amr, and he was more famously known by his kunya. Lastly, there's a person, he says, Ahmad ibn Al-Hakm al-Basri, وهو ابن عبد الله ibn Al-Hakm يأتي. So there's a person who is known as Ahmad ibn Al-Hakm from Basra, and he is also known as Ahmad ibn Abdullah ibn Al-Hakm. Right? That's who he actually is, Ahmad ibn Abdullah ibn Al-Hakm. Abdullah ibn Al-Hakm is a famous person, and Ahmad here must be his son, Al-Basri, and he says he'll be mentioned when we get to that section. When we get to the name Ahmad ibn Abdullah ibn Al-Hakm, that's when we'll talk about him there, because that's the same person as Ahmad ibn Al-Hakm. And like this, we finished Ahmad ibn Al-Hasan and Ahmad ibn Al-Hafs and Ahmad ibn Al-Hakm. And we'll stop at that amount. Next time we'll pick up with Ahmad ibn Hammad. Next time we'll pick up with Ahmad ibn Hammad. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.